Good morning. I'm Hank Rausch. My pronouns are he and him. I'm a member of this congregation and also the president of the board of directors at the Unitarian Universalist Area Church at First Parish in Sherburne. Let's begin our sacred worship service this morning by taking a deep breath and letting it out. Welcome to this house of worship. Come in bringing all of who you are, bringing your seeking soul, searching for meaning, searching for love. Here we covenant to walk together in ways of integrity and service. We help each other find the courage and commitment to live our faith fully. We keep our minds and hearts open and to the mysteries that lie beyond our certainties. Here we gather in community to celebrate our common life. Notice those who need you. They are here. They are everywhere. Let us worship together, willing to be authentic with each other, honest with ourselves, and open to connection in all its forms. Welcome. It's good to be with all of you today in this healing space. I'm here before you as chair of the board of directors as well. Earlier this week, it was communicated via email that the board decided not to renew Reverend Joe's contract next year. We want you to know that this decision was made with a great deal of care and responsibility to the community. The board understands that you may have questions about this decision. Out of respect for Reverend Joe and all members of our staff, we do not share their personnel information publicly and can't share details. We do, however, want to emphasize that we're happy to have Jo continue in her role as Minister of Lifespan Learning through the end of June. We're making plans to celebrate her time with and care for the UAC community, and we'll share those details as plans come together. This announcement may also lead to concern about the future of the Faith Formation program here. Faith Formation is a very important part of this community. The board, Nathan, and Faith Formation leaders are working on next steps to ensure that this program remains a strong and vibrant part of our community. We will provide updates as we have them. Thanks for your understanding and patience as we move through this period of change. If you have questions or concerns that you want to share, please reach out to me or any member of the board. I'm going to turn it over to Ian now for our regular announcements.
Thanks, Hank. Welcome. My name is Ian Evans. I'm your ministerial intern here at UUAC. My pronouns are he, him. First, let's greet our folks who are joining us online. If you could turn around and say hi, hello. Thank you so much for joining us, and a lot of people really do join us online. We hear from them after Sundays. There are also prayer cards and candles if you would like to write a prayer card or have something read for our times of joys and sorrows. They are over to my left, already being utilized in these difficult times. Please also sign up to ring the bell, to bring flowers, or to ring our chalice. That's a way that you can be a part of worship every single Sunday. There's an area in the back for those who are young or just young at heart. If you need to move your body, if you need to sometimes make some sounds, we know that that is part of what it means to be human, and all are welcome here, all ages are welcome here, all kinds of needs and movements and sounds are welcome here. Today, after our Wonder Box, children, kindergarten through 6th grade, they're going to be going to their classrooms. For both kids and adults, if you would like, we have a new page up here, which is just something that you can do during the service. It says, today at UUAC, the songs we sang made me think of this. Together we thought about this. Something you can do during the service to maybe deepen your relationship with it. We would love to welcome newcomers. Newcomers are always so welcome here and so exciting to have you here. If people could hold up the blue cards that are in your pews, yeah. So if you are new here, please go ahead and fill out one of those, hand it to Reverend Nathan, Reverend Joe, or myself. We will make sure to welcome you over email, get in touch. Thank you, Rosie, in the back. And finally, make sure that you join us after service for coffee hour downstairs, which is accessible via stairs and elevator. Speaking of after church, there's a bunch of cool stuff happening after church today. We have the relaunch of Senior Youth Group, SYG. A very exciting relaunch. If you are part of that, go ahead and make sure you grab some food, grab pizza from downstairs, and then head up to the Cooney room, the youth room, which is just up the stairs all the way to the end of this, all the way at the end of this hall. Then also we have our Lunch and Learn happening today. We have 3 different workshops happening today, and this is the last Lunch and Learn of the church year. Is that right? I got it right. Last Lunch and Learn of the church year. We have 3 different workshops happening. We will have guided improv movement for everybody with Nia. Yay! It says, get your body moving using prompts to explore different kinds of movement. There's no wrong way to do it. And I can say this will be the second time that this workshop has been done here. And last time I heard nothing but rave reviews afterwards. So highly recommend. There's going to be a documentary and discussion with Sean Bilodeau. Sean's in the back. You'll be watching a short documentary, Do the Thing, directed by Bryson Mustard, which features our own Sean Bilodeau. The film touches on the intersections of mental health, LGBTQ issues, and self-acceptance. Following the film, there will be a time for a discussion and a Q&A. Really important issues that are highlighted in the news every single day. I imagine that'll be a really important discussion. So that'll be happening. And then the final workshop will be with me. If you want to roll dice and fight monsters, I will be hosting a role-playing game downstairs. There's only room for a limited number of people, so unless you emailed me beforehand, it's going to be a little bit of first come, first serve. But we are going to be celebrating this monthly theme of play, and there's going to be pre-selected characters. You can go ahead and pick a character, jump right in. This is for kids, and it's for adults if you want to join in. And I think our last announcement is going to be from Megan Nunez.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Megan Nunez. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm standing here today as a member of the Stewardship Committee. As you hopefully know, our 25-26 annual campaign is already underway. We give away your generous contributions to our collection plate every week to organizations that support our values, but that means that we rely critically on our annual pledges to run the church. There are lots of different ways to pledge. You hopefully received one of these cards in the mail, and if you prefer the old school method, the card works great. But you can also use the QR code in the corner. You can use the link in this week's weekly newsletter that came out on Friday, or if you find that whole realm thing a little bit difficult to use, you can join us downstairs at coffee hour. We'll have snacks, and we can help you figure out how to make it work. Thank you so much. Your pledges supporting this church help us to continue to provide sanctuary for each other and for others in our community. Now I invite you all to take a few moments to turn and greet your neighbors.
Please join me for the opening words. Fast from criticism and feast on praise. Fast from self-pity and feast on joy. Fast from resentment and feast on contentment. Fast from jealousy and feast on love. Fast from pride and feast on humility. Fast from selfishness and feast on service. Fast from fear and feast of faith.
I invite you to rise in body or spirit, or raise your voices to join in singing our first hymn, Meditation on Breathing, which is a layered song. So there's 3 possible layers. You could sing at any time. The most simple, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe. And then there's this one. Keep going. In,
when I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love.
Sing with Tim.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love.
Here's the third.
When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love.
Beautiful, friends. Let us remain risen as Evie Gilmeyer comes forward to light our chalice, and we say together affirmation. Both are expressions of our life and our faith here in this community. You got it, Evie. And let us say together our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you. Please be seated. The organ sounds pretty cool on our doxology, doesn't it? All right, Kathleen.
All right, and I invite forward any young folks who would like to be up close for our Wonder Box. which is a time in each service where we've got something hidden away, or multiple somethings, that have to do with either the service or a special holiday or our theme. So welcome, come on up. It's good to see so many of you. So my name is Reverend Jo. My pronouns are she, her. I love seeing you all up here. Also, those pajamas look very cozy. So this week is one of my favorite Jewish holidays. So I grew up Jewish, and there's this holiday that a lot of Jewish kids look forward to all year. It's a little like Halloween, but less spooky, but it's just as silly. Have any of you heard of a holiday that's coming up? It's not super, yeah, Andrea, what is it? Purim, yeah. So you can spell that Purim, just to clarify, because you have to articulate it well. It is a really fun holiday that this year it starts Thursday night and goes during the day on Friday. And places all over the world have like carnivals, and you try and get as silly as possible before a really serious time of like Passover. And so you got to get the sillies out, right? It's important to play, especially when times are tough. We've been talking about that. One of my favorite things about this season is there's this idea that you should turn everything upside down on its head. Just everything should be so topsy-turvy. When I studied at Hebrew College, there was this practice during the entire month of Adar, when the holiday falls, when anyone who could do a headstand would do a headstand basically in the front of where we had our morning services every day. And 3 of the most esteemed professors, including the person who's now the president of Hebrew College, would do these amazing headstands and sometimes like move their feet. Oh, Rosie is ready for this. I know she's in circus school. Perfect. So if that gives you a little hint of like how silly this holiday is. And we do something else. And there are some clues in the Wonder Box. There are a couple of people who would like to help open the Wonder Box and pass out what's in it. We can take like 3 people. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and Asher, come on up. Yeah, I know, but Asher also had his hand up. You can, and I pointed at you. Come on. Okay, so if you can take up. Okay, great. So you can take those and hold them up and then pass them out. What does this give you ideas about? It gives you ideas about Jesus. Okay, interesting. God. Well, so what are these things that are in there? Royalty. Okay, I'm going for something even more basic, which is costumes. Thank you. People get dressed up in costumes. Headwear. So we can pass out some beads and some masks. It's for like several people. That's because there's a lot of people here. So you can pass them around to anybody who wants to wear them. Great. So I'll make sure I get pictures of whatever we put Sully in. Yeah, can you pass those around? I'm going to keep telling our story here. So, in those silly costumes, being all goofy, the main event is retelling the story of Esther. It's this book from the Bible telling the story about this rad, brave woman. And one of the fun parts that involves silly, and apologies to anybody who is noise sensitive, there's some holy chaos coming up. So if I can have Ian pass me what's back here, there is a villain, a real bad guy in this story named Haman or Haman. And the practice is that any time when we're retelling the story, you hear his name, you go boo, or you make some noise with a noisemaker. And just for like a second, you don't do it for real long. I thought you might want one. Okay. There's a couple more, but if you don't want one, you can also just go boo, or you can like stomp your feet. Again, just for a second, because we gotta still retell the story. Those are some egg shakers. Best part of working in a UU church is that maybe somebody can take turns with some of the egg shakers. If you have a noisemaker and somebody next to you doesn't and they'd like it, maybe you can swap off. Okay, so anybody remember the name I just said that we're supposed to boo? Haman, great. Perfect. All right, we're going to do better than that when we get going. Ready? This is a very short, kind of UU children version of the story. I recommend for those who are interested in like really complicated biblical stories that make you think, go read it and let's talk about it. Okay, once upon a time, in a little town called Shushan in an area of Persia, there lived a man named Mordecai. he was a pretty good man, and he always tried to help people and do the right thing. And Mordecai lived with his niece Esther. And Mordecai and Esther were Jewish. So in this same town, there was a king called King Ahasuerus. That's a good word, right? Try spelling that. Ahasuerus lived in a big palace and had lots of money and lots of fine things, but he was kind of lonely. And he wanted to see if he could find a new queen to come and live with him in the palace. He looked everywhere and eventually decided that the one person he liked most of all was Esther, who was not only pretty, but was also very kind and smart and brave. So Esther said, okay, and said goodbye to her uncle Mordecai and went to live in the palace with the king and become his queen. It's a little more complicated with that, but just suffice it to say she's living in the palace now. But she didn't tell him she was Jewish. He didn't know. Now, in this palace, there was a man who was not very nice, and his name was Haman. Perfect. He expected everyone to do exactly what he said and to bow down to him when they saw him, and he got angry if someone didn't do exactly what he wanted. And no one had elected him. He just was an advisor to the king. So, one day, Haman met Mordecai. Oop, did I say a name there? And Mordecai did not bow down to him. Haman became very angry, and he went to the king. And Haman knew that Mordecai was Jewish, and he came up with a plan that was not very kind. He went to the king and he said, King, there are some people around here who do things differently from the people I know, and I think you should make them go away. Boo, yeah, I think so too. The king didn't really know what he was talking about, but this king was kind of foolish. Yeah, I mean, it's like if you've ever seen Aladdin, he was kind of like the king there. And he said, all right, you can tell those people to go away, the ones who do things differently. All right. But what Haman wanted to do was to get rid of Mordecai and Esther and all of their Jewish friends and family. We don't like when we send people away who are of a particular religion or race or anything, right? That's not something we're into. Yeah. No. Good. Faith formation classes are working. Good. So the Jewish people who lived in Shushan in this town were sad and they were scared. They liked living in this kingdom and they didn't know what would happen next if they were sent away. They wondered what they could do. So Mordecai, that uncle of Esther's, sent her a message. And the message said, Esther, we need your help since you're in the palace. That nasty Haman wants to get rid of us all. Please, you're in the palace, talk to the king and see if you can ask him to stop this. Queen Esther was nervous, and she said to Mordecai, if I just go before him, I'm going to get in big trouble. You can't just go to the king and ask him to do something. And Mordecai said to her, maybe you are here for just such a time as this. This might be a thing that you are here to do. And Esther heard that, and she got very brave, and she said, okay. She decided to make a very special dinner for the king with all of his favorite foods, because truly, no one is at their best when they're hangry, right? You got to give them good foods, and then they're happy. And the king thought this dinner was delicious, and he was so happy after he finished eating. He said to Esther, this was so great. What can I do to say thank you? And Queen Esther said, oh, please, I need you to help me and my uncle Mordecai and all of our friends because someone wants to make us go away. That's terrible, said the king, because he liked Esther and he didn't want her to go away. Who wants to get rid of you and all your family and friends? Esther pointed at Haman and said, it's him. Haman wants to get rid of us. Oh, no, said the king, and he was very angry indeed when he realized what had happened. He called his guards and said, "Take away Haman and get rid of him. Get rid of him instead." Then the king asked Mordecai to come and work at the palace and do Haman's job. But of course, Mordecai was much nicer and more ethical, and he tried to do the right thing. I did. Did I say it wrong? Haman left. Mordecai came in to take his job. Yay! And then no one was forced to go live somewhere else if they didn't want to. So, every year in the early spring, Jewish people retell this story of Esther, of her bravery, of how things can reverse and go topsy-turvy, about how people who seem like they might not have much power can speak up and help people. Topsy-turvy, yeah, Rosie, you want to do one last quick headstand there? And that is the emblem of what we believe in, right? That we can all make a change, we can make things different. So with that, I'm going to ask if you can probably keep the beads and the crowns, but if you have a noisemaker, I'd like that back in the basket as you head off to faith formation classes. Let me tell you where they are. Thank you. So our kindergartners and first graders who, can we try that again? Thank you. Kindergartners and first graders who are signed up for OWL will go to their class, which is at the end of the hall over here. And if you are in kindergarten or first grade and you're not already registered for OWL, you can hang out in the nursery or in the second and third grade room. Second and third graders are going to Free to Believe, which is in this corner over by the bathrooms. There's a sign on the door. And grades 4, 5, 6 are going to How We Do UU in the FOS room, the big conference room over there. And we look forward to seeing you all after the service, and we can't wait to hear about your time. Let's sing you all out.
Friends, let's find ourselves where we are. Let's be in our bodies together. Let's enter into this time of meditation and stillness, this time of our laboratories for the soul. We begin with our prayer hymn for this month of March, In These Hard Times. The words are on our screens for us.
These hard times will always be singing in these hard times. In these hard times, there will always be singing. Always be singing in these hard times. There will always be singing. Always be singing. These hard times, there will always be singing in these hard times, there will always be singing in these hard times, there will always be singing. Always be singing in these hard times.
Every Sunday we come to our community, this place where we practice how to be the people we say we want to be. And we offer our prayers for our beloveds and for the world in which we live in, and the gratitudes that so often go unspoken and unrecognized. Our prayers for loved ones, for Jane Detweiler and John, her longtime husband, John's sister Dottie, who passed away last night. Dottie was Jane's best friend from childhood, and it's how John and Jane met, was through Dottie. So we're just holding them in love this morning. We're going to go all the way down to Natick, where John and Jane live. From Polina, for a dear friend who is struggling with the uncertainty of her future in this country. And friends, we know there are so many. From our own Amy Quigley, for Sarah, Cohen and family, and Max's and senior youth group, a prayer just for them. Sarah's Amy's best friend. And from the Bilodeau family, for our 2 pet jumping spiders. Let's just put a pause on that just for a sec. Their names are Ghost and I think Fang. And they passed away this week. And we know it's hard, especially to lose our jumping, furry beloveds in our families. This from Sierra for Ben and Snowcratter. For all of these names, and I invite us to offer the name out loud of someone we're holding in our love this morning as Kirsten lights a candle. As we look out our clear windows and maybe through the slats of our shutters into the blue sky, all of us here 1 hour earlier this morning, into the world that so needs and hungers for goodness and integrity. Our prayers this morning go to all the places of disturbance and destruction, here at home and abroad. We light a candle. And last but never least, friends, our gratitudes. From Don and Kirsten, for our daughter who's turning 38 today, and our grandbabies and our dogs. A prayer for the board of our community for their hard work and compassion and discernment. We're so very lucky to have them. And from Reverend Joe, gratitude for all the care and the love that folks have expressed to her this week through words and hugs and gluten-free brownies. She says, let's make these next 4 months really good together. We light a candle. Kirsten. Oh, and I forgot our beautiful flowers. If you can't see them, you should really come take a look a little bit later. These are from Sharon. The snowstorm, she says, kept me from bringing the flowers that week. You guys remember the snow? Yeah, we do. It leaves a mark. Sharon has dedicated these flowers to her mom, Colleen. Yes. And who guided Sharon to this community a year ago. So to my mom and to Sunflowers and to the Ukraine and to the world, that's what these flowers are for. Friends, let us pray together. Dear God of our many names and our no names, the source of love and light and growth that rumbles beneath the surface and hovers above us in these days of awakening light and sun and vitamin D. We are in need of vitamin D in this season. We need strong bodies, but more than that, we need strong spirits. Help us to look for signs of life and light in these days of change, in these days of disturbance, in these days of Purim, in these days of Lent, in these days of ash, in these days of dust, and in these days of buds about to bloom. Let us be held together here in stillness.
Our reading this morning is from the just published second edition of Who Do We Choose to Be? Facing Reality, Claiming Leadership, Restoring Sanity by Margaret Wheatley. Our self-help, goals-driven culture encouraged us to define our purpose and our values, and then seek work where we could enact those. Meaningful work was that which allowed us to fulfill our self-determined purpose. But now, forces that feel beyond our control, think politics, think climate, are now changing the game. And we must be open to the world that is, not the world we wish we had, and be curious to discover what is needed from us, willing to engage on the world's terms, not ours. Then, it is then that meaning finds us, not in grand gestures and large-scale projects, but moment to moment when we are available and willing to stay present to someone who needs to talk. In meetings, when a heated atmosphere is cooled by our calm presence. In our families, when we are more patient, more available. In processes where we create the conditions for thinking and reflection, and refuse to leap into action before we have understood the problem. We must never lose sight of our true destination, discovering our path of contribution.
Speaking of contributions, now's the time for Beyond Our Walls. I love it when the readings go right into Beyond Our Walls. Every week, we are so privileged to be able to collect an offering and give 100% away of it, 100% of it away to an organization that lives out our values of love, service, justice, peace. This week, we're collecting offerings for Out Metrowest. Out Metrowest builds communities where LGBTQ plus youth thrive. They affirm LGBTQ plus identities through positive role modeling. They challenge issues such as ableism, classism, misogyny, racism, and so many other systems of oppression that haunt our world. They create supportive spaces where these youth can truly be themselves as they are, not as they are expected to be in other parts of the world. They're respected, embraced, and celebrated in their diversity and treated with care and compassion. As so many of us know, this is work that is needed now more than ever. Please join me now in giving generously. Your offering will now be humbly received. Thank you.
Just wanted to let you know a little about the piece that the choir is about to sing. The church that I worked at before I began working here, 9 years ago or something crazy like that, was the First Unitarian Society of Denver, Colorado. And I think it was about 2 years ago, the minister there, Mike Moran, had his 20th anniversary of his call to ministry at that church. And they asked him to write sort of a statement for the ceremony they had. And then as a gift to him, Leah Davis, who was my coworker when I worked there, she's the other musician. We worked together and formed a friendship still going strong. She set what he wrote to music as a surprise gift to him. And she did an amazing job. It's very beautiful, so I hope this will be meaningful to you.
Good morning, beloved. Here's our world, and beautiful and terrible things will always happen. Our work is to keep our hearts tender and our eyes soft and our words true. This is what you and I strive to be about. We know there's no answer but to love each other. We bear witness against destruction. And we gather here in communities like this one to practice being the people we say we want to be. We cannot do everything, but we can do something, and that something is not nothing. So as Leonard Cohen reminds us, ring the bells that still can ring. Forget our perfect offerings. There is a crack in everything. Let us say together, that is how the light gets in. I do not like to fly. I like to arrive. I don't like the getting there. I don't like the packing. I don't like the scrambling to figure out where to park the car. I don't like to figure out where I'm supposed to pick up the bus now that Logan Express's garage is under construction. I don't like the security lines where classism is alive and well and celebrated with special folks who get their own line and their own staff, and the rest of us shuffle like slinky shape around ropes like we're back in first grade lining up to go to lunch. I don't like undressing for the security agent among hundreds of my unclosest friends. I don't like the scan machine where I have to hold up my arms like I'm about to get put into handcuffs. I don't like waiting for our bag to come down the conveyor belt and wondering if it will be chosen for an extra search by an under-caffeinated, underpaid Homeland Security agent who's going to rifle through my intimates with their just snapped-on blue rubber gloves. I don't like the overpriced lifesavers and the magazines and $12 waters at Hudson News. I don't like how the bars are open at 8 a.m. for folks to get pre-booked, which is a euphemism, with Bloody Marys before their flight. I don't like how the gate agents often need to perform great feats of sainthood to help haggard passengers who are taking out every frustration on them, yelling higher and higher, "Listen, ma'am." I don't like how no matter what I do, I'm always in Group D. How I'm against the window or in the aisle, always in the back with the other tallest people. I don't like all the screens. I don't like how the guy has his phone on speaker so we can all hear as he tells his spouse where he left the dog's heartworm medicine. He says, "Why can't you see it? It's on the counter." I don't like the taxiing. I don't like the thrush of engines. I don't like the anxiety of taking off. I don't like how I can't hold in my mind the statisticians who tell us that flying is so safe, Nathan, because listen, we've had 4 plane crashes or catch fire in 3 weeks. I don't like how the plane angles up like that into the sky, through the clouds, into the blue sky, where there is blue sky, above all the smog and fog and slog of these days that are March and February. But I don't like how there's turbulence and seatbelts that don't feel enough for how high I am or how fast I'm going should something happen. I don't like, I'm making a list, can you tell? I don't like oxygen masks and life jackets that remind me of my mortality. I don't like the little packets of pretzels and water with no ice that don't nourish me near enough in this time when my body hungers and thirsts for so much more. Which is a long way of saying, I don't like any of it. And whoever said that it's the journey and not the destination has never been on an actual plane going actually anywhere. So it is Lent, And for Christians in our midst, what this means is that the carnival is over. I have the remnants of the beads. The food stores have been exhausted from the winter. And now it is 40 days of repenting and fasting and being tempted by Satan, who is clearly enjoying himself up in first class, telling us to break all the rules and just come on up. Scripture says that Jesus spent 40 days in the desert. But if Jesus were alive today, I think that he might as well just have spent his time in Terminal C at Logan, hanging out in the dirty vinyl chairs with broken USB ports, wondering if he's really up to the task in these turbulent times, and wondering what his contribution can be when it is so hard to know what to do or where to turn. Remember, Jesus was Jewish, and he was 30 years old. Did you know what you were doing when you were 30? I didn't. If Jesus were watching television this past week, he would have seen on Ash Wednesday Boston Mayor Michelle Wu on her way to get grilled by a Republican committee called together to investigate so-called sanctuary cities. And if Jesus was watching and you were watching along with Jesus, you would have seen the ashes on her forehead in the shape of a cross. Saying, she said, as the ashes began to flake off of her forehead. The false narrative, she said, is that immigrants in general are criminals, or that immigrants in general cause all sorts of danger or harm. If you want to make us safe, she said, with the ashes on her forehead, pass gun reform, she said. Stop cutting Medicaid, she said. Stop cutting cancer research, she said. Stop cutting funds for our veterans, she said. This is what would make our city safe. The ashes on her forehead reminding her and reminding us, which is why I miss sometimes my Catholic stuff, that we are from dust and to dust we shall return, which means that we were never meant to survive, you and I, which means that death is assured, which means that we had better say what we mean and mean what we say, which means that we better make our lives worth dying for. Do you hear me? Better make our lives worth dying for. Which means in these turbulent times, we are invited to ask you and I, what is going to be our contribution? Because no one, not one of us, not any of you, not me, ought to while away all of our time flipping through magazines and Hudson News and miss the voice of the moment who's telling us the time is now, the plane is about to take off. Preach? But I'm tired. Hudson News is nice in a sad way. It's a little cocoon of candy and escape reading. We all need that, don't we? I need it. But what I want to tell us about here on this day when daylight is returning, and there will be balm. There will be balm. If not in Gilead, then here in Metrowest, when the sun will not set before 5 anymore, at least until next November. And spring is going to feel so good when it arrives. But what I want to tell us is how on Valentine's Day, several weeks ago, when I went to see my son in D.C. that I told us about on the day that we dedicated our beautiful organ, the day that I was flying and I saw on the 4-inch by 4-inch screens in the back of the seat in front of me of the person who reclined into my face. Not that I'm resentful. And how I saw on that screen how thousands of government workers were being fired as I flew, and I didn't know by the time I landed if my boy would be among them. He is not so far. And I sat there in my back seat against the window, all worried and fraught and feeling so damn helpless. and wondering what my contribution is in this time of desert, in this time of ashes everywhere, of Lent or no Lent. You get me? So there's turbulence on the inside, and there's a seatbelt for the soul that's flashing. That might be a good stewardship theme next time. Seatbelt for the soul that's flashing. And then that's in me, turbulence in me. And then, of course, outside the plane, the air begins to rock too, and the plane begins to stir. An announcement comes over the speaker: stewards, take your seats, please. Friends, some bumps ahead. Seatbelts fastened, some bumps, which always feels like an understatement to me, doesn't it? Like when the dentist goes, just a pinch. Or like when the preacher goes, I'm almost done. It's really good to confess here that another thing that I don't like while we're making a list is turbulence. I don't like turbulence on planes. I don't like turbulence in life. I don't like turbulence in general. I chose the wrong life. Didn't I? Is it too late, I wonder, to be a golden retriever? Ours just looks so, just lays on the grass, mud, he's the most Buddha living thing in our house. But alas. The point here is that I was anxious about the plane, about my boy, about the world. It was 3 weeks before Lent, but Lent came early. And it feels like Easter, which is named after the pagan god of Easter, feels far off, like resurrection. If you were to look at it on a flight board flashing, it would say, delayed, delayed, delayed. We need a baby help? Hope, do we need a baby help? Caleb. Caleb's mom, okay. Thanks, Courtney. So sorry. You're good. I was just talking about being delayed, so it's like apropos. There's turbulence everywhere. All right, so you're with me? So I'm all freaked out. I'm waiting for Easter. Easter's going to be in 4 years, maybe. And then I noticed to my right, 5 inches from me, this young woman who is my daughter's age, I'm guessing, early 20s, who is absolutely shaking. She's got both of her hands gripped on the armrests, and her bottom lip is quivering, and she's got her eyes shut, and there are tears coming down her cheeks. How long has she been feeling like this? I mean, we've been in the air 52 minutes. The thing about being anxious, as I was, though, as she was, is that we get all cut up in ourselves, don't we? Like, we don't even notice each other. We get in our little cocoons of Hudson News, and we don't even see each other. When I was in seminary, a long time ago, it was told to us over and over again that we are supposed to be, as clergy, a non-anxious presence. And as a hardwired anxious person, I always felt like this meant that I was just supposed to push away my feelings and pretend like I was chill. But I've been with you as your minister a very long time. And I've been alongside you for the beautiful stuff and the heartbreaking stuff too. And one nice thing about getting older, aside, even though I'm losing the hair that I wish I still had, Facebook brought up this picture of me when I was 22, and I'm like, okay, I actually have lost some hair. Facebook, dude, just stop with doing that, please. But I'm getting older, and one nice thing about getting older is that I realize that I don't have to pretend. You don't need to pretend that all is okay when it's not. And sometimes it is enough. Forget being non-anxious presence, because who the heck is non-anxious? Is to just be a little bit less anxious than the person next to you. So I say, hey, to the young woman next to me, you okay? It's okay. It's just a little turbulence, which is hilarious that I'm the one saying that. Because I never say that on the inside, but somehow reminding somebody else helps me believe it too. I want us to notice that. Sometimes it's really good to say to someone else the thing that we want to hear ourselves. It's remarkable. And she says, I'm sorry. I hate flying. My parents usually go with me. It's so dumb. I'm sorry, she says. She's apologizing to me. And I'm like, I hate flying too. By the way, solidarity is one contribution we can make. And then I tell her that when I get all freaked out on a plane, my spouse Karen says how turbulence is just like you're in a bowl of wiggling Jell-O. Now, I don't know why that helps. I don't particularly like Jell-O. I'm from the 70s, man. We had like Jell-O with like weird fruit in it, and like it was red and would leave a stain in your mouth for 4 weeks. I don't really like Jell-O, but somehow that metaphor or analogy works. So I start telling her about Jell-O. And then she goes, can I just hold your hand? Well, it's a little sweaty, I tell her. Like Jell-O that's been out too long. Same, she says. And so that's what I did. That's what we did. We just held hands together, she and I. Two anxious strangers holding on as the turbulence rocked us outside, as the turbulence rocked us on the inside too. She and I, all too aware of our mortality. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, but here now, still able to contribute something to each other. You guys, it was not enough. But it was. All of which is a long way of saying, remember the preacher's understatement, I'm almost done. The world feels out of control. There is a lot of turbulence. This is the world that is. It is not the world that we want, that I want. And on our plane of life, the seatbelts are flashing, and the stewards are on the speakers telling us to cinch those seatbelts and buckle up. And it looks like the Easter flight has been delayed. And a lot of people, a lot of us are alternatively gripping the arms of the chair, and we are quivering our lips. And what I want to tell us is that in the midst of all of that, meaning can still find you. It will not show up necessarily in grand gestures or large-scale projects, but moment to moment, when we are available and willing to stay present to each other, what I want to tell you is that meaning can find you. Turbulence abounds. Meaning can find you. It is not enough, but it is. So buckle up, everybody. Turn to your neighbors. Reach out and hold a hand if that's what they need, if that's what you need. Never mind that it's a little sweaty. It's good to be together in community. Amen. Let us rise in body or spirit and join in singing our final hymn, Come and Go With Me. Love it, love it, love it. You'd also be in that land. Downstairs, there's going to be pizza in that land. So I just encourage you to come down and share a slice and share connection and community, especially if you're like, I don't really like to do that stuff, because we have people who will be there to warmly welcome you, I promise. That's everybody around you in the pew. And not just talk to the people you know, but talk to the people you don't know, because think of them as a stranger next to you on the plane. Yeah? Yeah. So a lot of cool stuff happening after pizza. Sean's going to be in the sanctuary with his 10-minute documentary. It's going to be awesome. Ian's going to be downstairs, and so is Nia going to be downstairs with the dancing. It's going to be amazing. So let us say together our call to ministry before we leave. We go forth into the world in peace to act with works of love, to affirm each person's dignity, and to cherish love to each of us in turbulent times.